Are you prepared to find out what waits beyond reality? It's time to plunge into the abyss from which there is no return. In the silence broken only by your own heartbeat, darkness and horrors capable of shocking even the bravest lie in wait. Are you ready to face what hides in the shadows? What dark force pierces the silence? And what happens when every rustle becomes a cry of despair? Can you withstand the intense fear that becomes palpable and overwhelming? What if something around the corner can shatter your reality? In this world, every step brings you closer to the unknown horror, and every breath is a harbinger of unimaginable evil. Hold on tight and don't look away. The darkness will consume you.
In the quaint, unassuming town of Millfield, John Bell, a young man in his late 20s, leads a life that many would consider ordinary. By day, he can be found in the sun-drenched woodshop, skillfully shaping planks of timber into furniture that adorns the homes of his neighbors. His hands, calloused and strong from years of carpentry, tell the story of a life dedicated to craftsmanship and hard work. Despite his expertise, John's life is marked by a quiet uneventfulness, a rhythm that suits him well, but leaves an unsettling void in his heart. Yet, beneath the surface of this idyllic small-town life lies the shadow of a dark family legacy. The whispers among townsfolk often return to the Bell family, whose history is steeped in tragedy and superstition. Many believe that the curse of the Bell family is a tangible presence that haunts them, a sinister echo of the past that John cannot entirely shake off. Although he often dismisses these rumors as mere folklore, a flicker of unease dances in his mind whenever he hears the tales of the Witch's Cave, a foreboding cavern perched ominously at the edge of the nearby woods. The woods themselves serve as a backdrop to Millfield, dense with towering trees that filter the sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. As John walks home from his workshop, he often feels the weight of the woods pressing in around him, an unspoken reminder of the dark legends that swirl in the air. The Witch's Cave, an eerie place shrouded in mystery, looms in the distance, a constant reminder of the past that refuses to be forgotten. Though John tries to ignore the tales of madness and disappearance tied to the cave, the unease lingers, intertwining with the threads of his family's history. As the days turn into restless nights, John's sense of normalcy begins to unravel. It starts with whispers, soft and elusive, carried by the wind that seems to call his name. At first, he brushes it off as a figment of his imagination. However, the whispers grow more insistent, each time sending a chill down his spine. Shadows flit at the edges of his vision, dark shapes that vanish whenever he turns to look, leaving him questioning his own sanity. His sleep is plagued by vivid nightmares, where a decrepit woman beckons him from the depths of the woods. Her gnarled fingers stretch out, urging him to step closer, to surrender to the unknown. Each night, he awakens in a cold sweat, heart racing, the echoes of her voice still ringing in his ears. The dreams seep into his waking hours, a persistent reminder that something is amiss. John notices peculiar happenings around his home. Tools in his workshop are inexplicably rearranged, and items he is certain he left in one place are found in another, as if a mischievous spirit is toying with him. His loyal dog, once a playful companion, now stands at the edge of the woods, barking incessantly into the darkness, as if sensing an unseen presence that chills John to the bone. The air thickens with tension, each day amplifying his unease. Despite his attempts to rationalize the events, a draft causing shadows, a neighbor playing pranks deep down, John feels an inescapable pull towards the Witch's Cave. The lurking dread is persistent, and even as he tries to dismiss the strange occurrences, he cannot shake the growing fear that something dark and ancient is awakening, and it has set its sights on him. Unable to ignore the strange occurrences, John delves into the dusty archives of his family's history, unearthing records that speak of Abigail Bell, his long-lost ancestor. The pages, yellowed with age and fragile to the touch, reveal a tale of tragedy and betrayal, a woman wrongfully accused of witchcraft. As he reads, the weight of her fate settles heavily on his shoulders. Her spirit, it is said, lingers in the depths of the witch's cave, awaiting resolution for the injustices she suffered. Driven by a morbid curiosity, John sets out on a chilling journey into the woods, the very woods that had become a source of such dread. The atmosphere is thick with an unnatural stillness, as if the trees themselves are holding their breath. Each step he takes crunches softly against the carpet of fallen leaves, breaking the silence that envelops him. The sunlight filters through the dense canopy above, casting eerie shadows that dance around him, creating a disorienting effect. As he ventures deeper, John feels an inexplicable pull guiding him toward the cave. The air grows cooler, and a shiver travels down his spine. The familiar sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves fade into an unsettling quiet, amplifying the sound of his own heartbeat. It feels as though the woods are alive, whispering secrets of the past, urging him to turn back while he still can. Yet, he presses on, driven by a mixture of fear and fascination. Finally, he arrives at the mouth of the witch's cave, a dark gash in the earth that seems to exhale a cold breath of air. The entrance is overgrown with twisted vines and moss, giving it an ancient, forgotten appearance. An overwhelming sense of dread washes over him as he stands before it, an invisible weight pressing down on his chest. The darkness within beckons, promising answers, but also threatening to engulf him in its shadows. As John steps into the witch's cave, a palpable darkness envelops him, swallowing the last remnants of daylight. The air is thick and musty. Each breath feels heavy with the weight of secrets long buried. Almost immediately, he is struck by the chilling sensation that he is not alone. The flickering torchlight casts long shadows along the damp walls, and as his eyes adjust, he begins to see shapes swirling in the periphery of his vision. Suddenly, the cave transforms into a harrowing landscape of visions. John finds himself transported to a nightmarish scene. Abigail Bell stands before him, her face twisted in anguish, surrounded by a mob of townspeople brandishing torches. He watches in horror as they drag her to a makeshift gallows, her cries for mercy echoing off the stone walls. The sight is so vivid, so real, that he feels the heat of the flames, the weight of the rope tightening around her neck. In that moment, Abigail turns her gaze upon him, and her sorrow morphs into rage. "You are the last of the Bell line," she intones, her voice a haunting whisper that reverberates through the cave. "For your blood, I curse thee. Betrayers of my trust shall not escape their fate." As she speaks, ghostly figures of John's ancestors materialize around him, their spectral forms pleading, beckoning him to join them in the void. The visions intensify, each more disturbing than the last. They show him the faces of his deceased family, their eyes hollow and pleading. They reach out, drawing him closer to their spectral embrace, but with each step, madness claws at his sanity. John stumbles back, the weight of his family's dark legacy crashing down upon him. The cave feels like a living entity, feeding on his fear, its shadows twisting and writhing in malicious delight. Overwhelmed, John turns to flee. His heart races as he navigates the treacherous path back, desperate to escape the clutches of the past. The cave seems to close in on him, the walls whispering secrets of despair and vengeance. As he bursts out into the cool night air, he gasps for breath, the weight of the curse hanging heavily on his shoulders. John knows now that the legends were not mere tales. They are a chilling reality, and he is irrevocably linked to the curse of the witch's cave. Back in Millfield, the atmosphere is thick with a sense of dread that clings to John like a second skin. His once familiar surroundings now feel foreign, warped by shadows that seem to stretch and twist in unnatural ways. The townspeople, once warm and welcoming, now regard him with wary eyes, whispers trailing in his wake. John can feel their judgment, their suspicion, as if they sense something dark lurking just beneath the surface of his being. As the days pass, John's behavior spirals into erratic bouts of paranoia. He finds himself glancing over his shoulder, convinced that eyes are watching him from the darkness. Each creak of wood or rustle of leaves sends his heart racing. The strange occurrences that once plagued him intensify. Objects fall inexplicably from shelves, and flickering lights illuminate the night with ghostly shadows. The townspeople begin to die in mysterious, tragic accidents. An elderly woman falls ill, a child disappears in the woods, and the baker is found lifeless in his shop. Each incident feels like a confirmation of the curse that has latched onto him, feeding on the guilt that festers within. Isolated and consumed by guilt, John retreats into himself, a hermit in his own home. The walls close in, and the weight of his family's legacy becomes unbearable. He often finds himself staring into the mirror, searching for signs of the madness that seems to seep into his very soul. The reflection staring back at him is a stranger, eyes wild with fear and desperation. In this suffocating solitude, he comes to a chilling realization. To end the curse and free the trapped souls of his ancestors, he must make the ultimate sacrifice, his own life. The thought gnaws at him, a haunting dilemma that fills him with anguish. His heart aches as he grapples with the magnitude of the choice before him. Can he truly abandon the life he has known? Would his sacrifice bring peace to those who suffered, or would it merely seal his own fate in the depths of the witch's cave? The shadows whisper their insidious answers, and John stands on the precipice of despair, wrestling with a truth that may forever alter the course of his existence. In a final act of desperation, John Bell steels himself for the confrontation that awaits him within the witch's cave. The air is charged with an electric tension, and each step he takes echoes ominously against the damp stone walls. A chill seeps into his bones as he crosses the threshold into darkness, the cave's mouth swallowing him whole. A swirling mist rises from the ground, coiling around his legs like ethereal serpents, and he feels the weight of ancestral eyes upon him, urging him forward. As John ventures deeper, the atmosphere thickens with an oppressive presence. Shadows flicker and dance along the walls, morphing into fleeting apparitions of those who have come before him, his ancestors, bound by the same curse that now grips him. Their silent pleas resonate in his mind, urging him to confront Abigail, the vengeful spirit who haunts this cursed ground. The darkness seems alive, pulsating with a life of its own, as he feels the air grow colder, a foreboding whisper echoing through the cave, warning him of the peril that lies ahead. Suddenly, Abigail appears before him, her spectral form shimmering in the dim light. Her eyes blaze with fury and sorrow, embodying a tempest of emotions that threaten to consume him.
"You dare to challenge me?"
she hisses, her voice reverberating through the cavern like thunder. A cacophony of anguished wails rises from the depths, and John realizes he stands on the precipice of a supernatural battle. With every ounce of strength, he confronts her wrath, unleashing the fury of his own lineage. The air crackles as the spirits of his ancestors rise to his aid, their spectral forms coalescing around him, lending him their strength. Together, they form a protective barrier against Abigail's malevolence. The cave becomes a surreal battlefield, with energy surging through the air like lightning, illuminating the darkness, revealing the twisted faces of the damned. As the confrontation escalates, John's strength begins to wane, fatigue seeping into his limbs. He feels the bitter taste of despair as Abigail's power threatens to overwhelm him. In a moment of clarity, he understands the true nature of the curse. It will not end without sacrifice. In a shocking twist, John realizes that to contain Abigail's spirit forever, he must seal his own soul within the cave's dark embrace. With this revelation, he steels his resolve, prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice to free his family from the chains of the past. In a climactic turn of fate, John Bell sacrifices himself, his blood spilling upon the stony ground of the witch's cave. The moment is both tragic and heroic, as his essence intertwines with the ancient magic that has plagued his family for generations. As the darkness swirls around him, the cave begins to tremble, and the very earth trembles beneath the weight of his sacrifice. The witch's spirit, bound by the curse of anguish and rage, is finally sealed away within the collapsing walls of the cavern. The echoes of her wrath diminish, leaving behind an eerie stillness that blankets the cave in an unsettling peace. Outside, the townsfolk, unaware of the sacrifice made within, feel a sudden lifting of the oppressive atmosphere that has long haunted Millfield. The air seems lighter, and for the first time in years, a sense of normalcy returns to the town. However, the legend of the Witch's Cave lives on, woven into the fabric of local lore, a story of courage and sacrifice, yet shadowed by the sinister weight of the past. The tale of John Bell becomes a whispered warning to future generations, a reminder of the darkness that once threatened to consume them all. Years later, a group of adventurous teenagers, seeking thrills and a taste of danger, dares each other to spend the night near the site of the collapsed cave. As dusk settles and the woods grow dark, they gather around a campfire, sharing ghost stories and laughing, unknowing of the legacy that lies beneath them. But as night deepens, an unsettling calm blankets the forest, and they begin to hear whispers carried by the wind, soft, haunting murmurs that seem to call out from the depths of the earth. The forest, alive with rustling leaves and creaking branches, holds its breath as if anticipating the return of the witch's spirit. Shadows flicker at the edges of their campfire light, and a chill seeps into their bones, igniting a primal fear. The whispers grow louder, echoing tales of vengeance and longing, hinting that the cycle of the curse may not be entirely broken. For the witch waits, her spirit lingering still, perhaps seeking another Bell descendant to free her from her eternal prison. The teenagers, now gripped with unease, can feel the haunting presence of the past, a reminder that some legacies refuse to die, and the darkness may still be waiting to rise once more.